say that we are the only party that has a plan that will ensure that we are not going to put any extra burden on working class people, on the middle class, on small businesses. Our plan is the only one with a credible vision to increasing revenue significantly and substantially so that we can invest in the programs that people need, the help that people need, at the same time as putting us in a better position to reduce our debt.
Next question, we have Karina Roman from CBC News.
Hello there. You have in this platform and the costed ambitious spending, ambitious revenue projections. Yep. For one of them, for example, the wealth tax, the PBO has said there are some uncertainty about, who we're basing that on, assumptions of behavior. There is a lot of uncertainty when it comes to coming up with these numbers. How realistic do you think your costed platform is?
Some of that uncertainty is because it hasn't been done before. And I acknowledge that. It hasn't been done before recently. But it is a real path forward that's going to start asking those at the very, very, very top to start paying their fair share. And it is something that Canadians believe makes sense. And while it hasn't been something that we've done recently, and that's why there's some uncertainty, it has been something that we've done in the not too distant past. There was a time when the super wealthy paid more of their fair share, when the burden didn't fall on families as much, and when wealthy corporations and the ultra wealthy were contributing more fairly. There was a time when that happened, and that's what we want to return to, that the burden should not be shouldered by the middle class, by working people. It should be those at the very, very top that are actually shouldering their fair share. And that hasn't been the case for a long time because of Liberal and Conservative governments, and we want to fix that.
And in terms of the excess profit tax for, as you say, corporations that made out like bandits during the pandemic, is how I think you put it this morning.
That's right.
Is it fair to apply a tax like that to companies, no matter how well they did, when they didn't know about this before the pandemic? The pandemic happened, they did well, and now we're going to tax how well they did. Is that fair? Yeah, it's very fair.
We did it in the World War time period. In the World Wars, there were companies that were profiteering, and some of them might have not been doing it purposely, but if the conditions of a crisis mean that everyday folks have had to sacrifice and small businesses struggled, but there's some companies, just because they're in the right place at the right time, made record profits while everyone else suffered, and we're wondering who should pay their fair share for this crisis, I would think it makes sense that if someone made money off of the pandemic, then they've got a responsibility morally to contribute a bit more. And this is not a brand new idea. We acknowledged the importance of this during the World War period. There was profiteering taxes, and we adjusted them to make sure they worked. And we're saying, let's do the same. Like Amazon, I keep on coming back to this example, but it is pretty outrageous how much they've earned in this pandemic, how much of a record profit that they've earned, and the fact that they pay virtually nothing in Canada in terms of taxes. And that's already a problem. But on top of that, there should be an extra portion that companies that have made out like bandits, that they pay. And Canadians agree with that. That makes a lot of sense.
Next question, Annie Bergeron-Oliver from CTV News.
Hi, Mr. Singh. Your platform pledges to spend about $214 billion over the next 5 years, which is roughly 3 times what the Liberals are proposing, as well as the Conservatives. Given the spending that's in here, do you not think this is a document that voters could have benefited from seeing earlier? You did release your platform a month ago.
Well, it's not a surprise to Canadians. We have been very consistent that we want to invest in people. That is not a surprise. We've said for a long time, we believe that we've got to lift up people. We've done that throughout the pandemic. We've proposed that before the election. We've long been saying that we need to invest in people. We believe in that. We're absolutely firmly confident that that is the right way to move forward. And we've also said the way that we're going to pay for this is not going to be on the workers. It's not going to be on the middle class. And we've also been really clear on that. This document just highlights what we've been saying for a long time. It provides more details. But the plan has been really clear to Canadians. We're going to invest in you, and we're not going to put the burden on you. We're going to ask that the ultra-wealthy pay their fair share, and that's what today's document outlines.
The provinces have been asking for $28 billion in health transfers. Your platform, Costed, does not provide any clear specifics about health transfers. I know officials were saying there is $68 billion in health spending, but it still won't reach that $28 billion. So what do you say to the provinces, and specifically Quebec, who have been pushing and asking for $28 billion specifically from the feds?
We say to provinces and territories and to Quebec that we are investing the most in healthcare. If healthcare is something that you care about, New Democrats are offering the most investments in healthcare, far more than Liberals and Conservatives. Just our Pharmacare investments alone are more than what the Conservatives are investing. That $10 billion to put in place a national universal Pharmacare is more than the Conservatives' plan. That's just one of our commitments. So if healthcare is a question that people are concerned about, and they're wondering about who's going to invest the most into keeping our public system public and investing in it so we can be there for people when they need it, our plan offers the most investments. And for Quebec, that applies as well. Our plan will invest the most in healthcare, and that will help people in Quebec and across Canada.
Next question, Richard Sussman from Global News.
There's no path in here to get back to balanced budgets. When should Canadians expect, if there is an NDP government, to get back to the books being balanced?
We have the most aggressive plan to actually increase revenue to get us in a better position to reach that balance. And we believe that's important, but we wouldn't do it on the backs of people. And we would get to that better position financially, fiscally, by the measures that we've outlined: closing the loopholes, ending the offshore tax havens, the wealth tax, returning the capital gains inclusion back to what it used to be in the 2000s. The metrics or the measures that we're putting forward will ensure that the burden does not fall on workers, does not fall on families, but puts us in a better position to pay down our debt in a way that puts the burden on the wealthiest, on the billionaires, on the companies like Amazon. And that's the right way to move forward. And we've been long saying that that's the way we would go forward. The Liberals and Conservatives have a different approach. They're not looking at increasing revenue in a significant way like we are, and they are going to be cutting that help that people need.
But is there a path there? Like, you haven't answered whether there is a path to get to the books being balanced.
Yeah, there's a path. And our path is that path to get to that point should be about increasing revenue, making sure that the ultra wealthy are paying more of their fair share like they used to. And we are the only ones laying out a credible path to getting to a position where we're in balance that doesn't actually help to people or put burden back on the same people that have struggled. We are the only ones providing a plan that gets us back towards balance while we can still invest in people that puts the burden on those that should be paying their fair share, the billionaires.
Next question. Next question, Menaka Raman-Wilms from the Globe and Mail.
Hi, Mr. Singh.
Hey there.
Yesterday's event in Burnaby was all about voting early in advanced polls, but anyone who voted yesterday or earlier today would have done so without seeing your costed budget. So if you want people to be informed when they're making this decision, doesn't the timing of releasing this costing now go against that idea?
Well, the costing is just more details about what we've always said. From the beginning, we've told people we're not going to increase taxes on working class, on the middle class. We said clearly we're going to make the billionaires pay their fair share. And we've been really clear about investing in the programs that people need and the help that people need. This document is exactly what we've been saying all along with more details. But nothing has changed. We've long said we're going to make sure that it's the super wealthy that pay their fair share. That's what this document shows. We've long said we're going to invest in people in really bold ways. And we continue to maintain that position. We are a party that was the founder of healthcare, and it should come as no surprise that we are investing the most in healthcare, more than any other party, because we know people need help. And so what we provided today is no different from what we've been saying all along, and just provides more details. But the values and our commitments remain the same.
And both the NDP and the Liberals have a plan for $10 a day childcare. Some people might think these are quite similar plans then. So could you just explain for people what is the difference between your childcare plan and the Liberal childcare plan?
The difference is we're not going to take 30 years to do it. The difference is we're not going to just campaign on something because it sounds good and then never deliver on it. The difference is we want to get it done. For us, it's not about trying to sound good at one point and then back away from it. Our commitment has been strong on this. And we can look to the Liberals really clearly to make that comparison. If you look at some of their commitments, one of the hallmark commitments of 2019 was Pharmacare. They promised it, they campaigned on it, they said they would make it happen, they said it in their throne speech. 2 years later, there's $0 in their costed budget for Pharmacare, which means they've completely abandoned that commitment. That's an example of what they do. They They campaign on things, they promise things, they don't deliver it. And people end up paying the price. Families are still paying $550 on average per year. They've been doing that for 6 years. That is thousands of dollars that they're out. Families that needed childcare in 2015, who pay on average $20,000 per child, 6 years later have spent $120,000 on childcare and have still not received it. And so the difference between us and Liberals is we want to get it done. We're not just going to campaign on it. We're going to fight for it. We campaigned on Pharmacare. We put forward a bill on it when we were in Parliament. The Liberals voted against it. We're going to show folks that we believe in this. It's not just a campaign promise. It's a value that we share, and we want to make it happen.
Next question, Althea Raj with the Toronto Star.
You've spent the
I didn't
last...
say congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You've spent the last few weeks basically telling progressive voters that they should aim higher, think bigger and bolder than what the Liberals are suggesting. When you were asked about your childcare plan after the debate, you said that you plan to meet or exceed what the Liberals had budgeted for. Your fiscal costing shows that you don't plan to spend $1 more than the Liberals on childcare. What do you say to potential New Democrat voters who might feel like they've been let down?
I know that they've been let down by Liberals because kids that needed childcare 30 years ago have grown up and have kids of their own, and there's still no childcare. So they've been let down. Don't get let down again. Don't let the Liberals sell you a story when we know what they do. If you want any of these things to happen, if you want childcare to happen, the best way to make sure we get childcare is more New Democrats in Ottawa. That's the best way, bar none. More New Democrats are going to fight to make this happen. You vote enough of us in, we form government, we get it done. You vote as many New Democrats as possible, and we will be in a position to make this happen. The Liberals have shown, through their track record, even when they're in a majority in 2015, they didn't do it. They promised it 3 decades ago nearly, they didn't get it done. They signed some deals now, which is good, but instead of following through and finishing the job, they called an election. So really, how much did they really mean to get this done if they've called an election that jeopardizes it moving forward? To me, it really looks pretty cynical. If they wanted this done, they had 2 more years on their mandate, they could have got it done.
But if the Liberals are so bad, why did you adopt their plan?
It's not that their plan is bad. It's the fact that they drag things out, that they promise things and don't deliver. The fact that they've been committing to do this for 30 years and have let families struggle for 30 years. The problem is that Liberals have this strategy. Why deliver something when we can just campaign on it anyways? And they've done that. And they've done that to Canadians again and again. And people are paying the price for it, and they're feeling that. And that's why I've met lots of people who said, you know what? I was really hopeful for Justin Trudeau. I voted for Justin Trudeau. I'll be honest with you, I did it. And I did it again in 2019. I did it in 2015. I did it again in 2019. I'm not going to do it anymore. It costs me too much. People who wanted childcare say it costs me too much to hope for someone who's going to deliver something that doesn't. It costs me too much when I'm worried about the climate crisis and the emissions keep on going up. It costs me too much when I think about how important saving the cost of my medication would be, and Mr. Trudeau promises it and doesn't deliver. I end up paying the price. And people are telling me that they cannot afford, literally, financially, they cannot afford another 4 years of this not happening. And so I'm telling those folks, you can trust us. We believe in this. We fought for it. We'll continue to fight for it, and we can get it done.
Next question, Mackenzie Gray from CTV News.
I just got to keep following up on childcare, Mr. Singh. One of your strongest political allies, John Horgan, I think was the first premier to sign a deal with Justin Trudeau to have childcare done. And at that press conference, he talked about how excited he was to see the check. Now, in the briefing for us before, your officials said that the same money is going to be used. So can you tell us, outside of just saying that you're going to do it when the Liberals have already signed 8 out of the 10 deals, are there any substantive differences between the Justin Trudeau plan and the Jagmeet Singh plan for childcare?
Justin Trudeau's plan took 30 years. Jagmeet Singh's plan is going to be to get it done right away. 3 decades is a long time. That's a lot of pain. That's a lot of struggle. That's a lot of women that couldn't get access to childcare. That's a lot of broken dreams. That's a lot of dashed hopes. That's a lot of kids that couldn't get the care that they needed. That's a lot of parents that didn't get the care they needed. Trudeau was in power in 2015, was Prime Minister. Let's not forget, he had 6 years. That's 6 years of families paying $20,000 a year. They spend $120,000 a year. That's an expensive, broken promise. That cost a lot. 4 more years of that is going to cost a lot. The plan is good. My concern is not about the plan. My concern about is the track record of promising things and not delivering it. My concern is promising things like Pharmacare and saying that was the most important thing, and people being like, okay, that's great. And then 2 years later, completely abandoning it. That doesn't give people a lot of confidence that Mr. Trudeau is going to promise something in this campaign and then actually follow through with it. When we've got, people don't forget things. 2 years ago, it wasn't a long time ago. He promised something and didn't do it. And so folks are saying, well, I'm nervous now. These sound good, but I've heard that story before. These things sounded good back in 2019 as well, but nothing happened. And I want folks to know we back it up. We didn't just campaign on Pharmacare, we put forward a bill on it, and Trudeau voted against it. So that's the difference. We want to get this done, and we've shown again and again with real concrete differences between us and the Liberals how we get things done and how they talk about it and don't deliver.
From a philosophical perspective, how important is it for you, if you were Prime Minister, to have the budget balanced, seeing you're going to be adding about $300 billion over the next 5 years to the national debt?
For me, living within our means is important. But the difference between me and Justin Trudeau, for example, is I don't believe in cutting help to people. I believe people need support. And given a choice, will I claw back from someone who needs the CRB? Or would I go after the hundreds of companies that took public money and then paid out dividends? I would go after those companies and say they should pay back their fair share. That's the difference. Mr. Trudeau's already signaled one of the things that he would do, which is to cut the help that people need. I wouldn't do that. But the other difference is I'm looking for revenues. And the revenues that we're calling are going to be on the backs of the wealthiest corporations that make incredible profits, that hide that profit and put it in an offshore tax haven. Mr. Trudeau's known about that for 6 years, hasn't prosecuted a single case of tax evasion. We think that's wrong. So we would invest in more enforcement, make sure that these companies are paying their fair share. We've got a different approach. We don't think the burden should fall on you or your families. We think the burden should be on those that have been exploiting the system, that have had a rigged economy that has benefited them. That's not you, that's not your families, that's not small businesses, that's the super wealthy. If you're the super wealthy, then yes, we're going to ask you to pay your fair share. For everyone else, don't worry, we got your back.